Somebody recently shared their sexual fantasies with me, and no, I'm not joking. I'm actually dead ass serious, and I'm gonna use that as my intro to talk about something very serious that a lot of people actually experience, which is limerence. Okay, and yes, it's a lot more common than it's talked about on social media. I don't think many people talk about it openly, although there's been more discourses about it recently because of social media. But this phenomenon is actually a lot more common than you think, especially for people who have a brain injury, who have ADHD, who have trauma, etc. So if you're dealing with limerence, which I'm going to explain in a bit what it is exactly, you need to first recognize that you are dealing with it, okay? Because the more you try to push it away, the more it's going to drive you crazy. And you're going to have like borderline psychosis about it even. And God forbid if you mix in like your spiritual, new age spiritual narratives into it, it's going to get worse, okay? So first, before adding into any ideologies or philosophies about your experience, right? Limerence, which is that when you have obsessive thoughts about somebody and sexual fantasies or just fantasies in general about this person or about yourself involving this person in your life. So basically all these idealizations and fantasies revolving this person, okay? Where you see this person on a pedestal and in a way where, again, simple words, obsession. But normally you have this with someone that you don't have a romantic relationship with, right? It's someone that you idealize in your head. So you could have some form of a relationship with this person, but it's not a deep, intimate relationship. Like, for example, I've been on the recipient of limerence and obsession from people, and most of these cases were parasocial relationships. So that means like people who find me on social media, or this is unfortunate, but sometimes clients, it has happened, and like acquaintances. So I, as someone who's been on the recipient of this thing, I could speak on the subject. On top of the fact that I have compassion for these people, and especially as a shaman, when I deal with this from clients, I understand exactly what's going on. And again, this is not about me ultimately. I'm using myself as an example to establish the fact that I've been on the recipient side of this, but also I understand the nature of limerence very well. But also thirdly, my objective for this video is for you to understand, if you have this, that you have to fully acknowledge it and how you can help yourself. You first have to really establish the facts of this relationship, because especially if your goal is that you don't want to feel this way, you feel crazy, like you acknowledge this is dysfunctional now, right? So you have now identified that this is not healthy, you feel crazy, but then there's like this confusion that you might have. Oh, this, like, I feel so sure that this person has romantic feelings for me, like these obsessive compulsive thoughts in your head that are like going on in your head, right? Such as intrusive thoughts or whatever you want to call it, but you have fantasies with this person, but it's not happening in reality. It is just happening in your head, but then you're confusing that for reality, and then that's adding the confusion. And a lot of these cases do lead to psychosis, like I already said. And like I said, especially if you introduce these new age narratives, like such as twin flame, soulmate, it can definitely push you off edge and into psychosis, okay? That's the risk of, it's not a risk, but that's what happens when you're working with a sensitive brain, when you're working with a brain that is like sensitive to things like this, because of the the way that your brain is not producing certain chemicals properly, or the way the brain is just wired. But anyways, like I said, first, fully identify the facts of the relationship between you and this person. Is there really an intimate relationship in the reality? Has this person ever expressed to you about their interests? Like what is the actual factual nature of this relationship, and not what's going on in your head, right? So that's how you also identify the real facts that are verified, that are factual, that are physically visible to yourself. And you got to continue to remind yourself that that's what the facts are, okay? And secondly, you also have to identify, right, the reason why it's happening is that most of these cases, in my observation, these people don't have support system in their real life. They don't have much real life going on, which is why, again, they build parasocial relationships with their idols and celebrities or content creators on social media, because they lack intimacy. They lack that feeling of affection and care in their real life, right? So they don't have a support system, and so they deeply crave like a human connection. So once they find someone that they are attracted to, or for whatever reason, they hold on to that, they grab onto that person, and then they start idealizing this person. Again, it could be like a neighbor, you know what I mean? Like someone that Like, now, this person that you are having limerence over doesn't have to be someone that is actually physically in your life, because like I said, it could be a celebrity or whatever, right? But it is someone that has enough visibility in your life that it's like the best case scenario of like idealizing over them. Why? Because you don't know the reality of them, so that means that they're just like a character in your head where you can project all these ideologies and personalities and personify them somehow. Okay, the reason why I need you to identify this fully is so that you understand the problems or the root cause of where this is coming from. Is you not having support and you not having enough human intimacy in your life, and enough like real relationships. Like, you don't know what it means to have a real relationship. And on top of that, you know, it's just fully being responsible for what's going on your end. That also can help you reduce the risk of going more on edge, or, you know, losing your mind more, or possibly, you know, harming this person in some ways, right? There's different things that you got to consider when you know that you're dealing with this, and when you're able to actually identify that this is like severe, that your obsession over this person is severe. And I'm saying this, like I said, like I can see this from multiple angles, because once again, as a shaman, I deal with multiple types of clients. And again, like, limerence is not, I'm not saying that's like my focal point, I'm not saying that's my expertise. But however, I am saying that when I have assisted people dealing with this, experiencing limerence, not just towards me, but like in general, right? Like, obviously individually there are different factors, and this is why, you know, if you're struggling with this, if you have a pattern of this, come see me in one-on-one, and I would like to help you, because this is what the true, you know, medicine of what I do is about. It's me really bringing forth insights about like what's really going on in your journey, right? And I'm not even going to add the spiritual component to this, like, but that's the dangerous thing about it, though, is that it's your brain basically just kind of doing something, right? So it's the physical matter, and then you adding spiritual components to this. That's what's adding to the risk of this whole thing. And then you think that this person is then your soulmate or twin flame, and it's adding to that obsession and adding to the limerence, which once again is going to make you put this person on a higher pedestal, and it's a very vicious cycle, right? Which is why I'm now having you identify, right, your pattern of this and your actual real life, right? And if you are able to actually identify that you don't have a quality relationship in your reality, right, you probably first have to log off social media. You probably have to create distance from this person. And hopefully, if I'm speaking to you, like, hopefully you still have, you know, enough conscience in yourself where you're able to identify and own up to that this is actually a problem in your life. Not in a way to like discourage yourself or disregard yourself or dehumanize yourself, but like recognize that your brain is having issues right now, right? And so instead of feeding into this, right, because that's why I had you recognize the facts between you and this person, is there really a relationship here, or are you creating fantasies, and, you know, fantasies that are not fair to the other person, right? So if you are able to have empathy for the other person and also for yourself, then you have to fully take ownership of the solutions that you have to pursue now. And that's probably going to look like you first disconnecting from this person in most cases than not. And I don't know, like, you probably need to consult somebody professionally. Like, you probably need assistance with mental health. Even though as a shaman, which means that I look at things metaphysically and holistically, I firsthand will say that not everything that you experience is spiritual. Like, this person that you're obsessing over, it's not because you guys share this, you know, glorified, like, grandiose love story. Like, it's not some forbidden love story. It's just sometimes your brain having some issues, and you're adding the spiritual overlay on top of that. And that's why I have again, I can go really deep into this. Like, there's so much issue that I have with this new age spiritual concepts, but either way, I am most concerned about you, your well-being, and your mental health. So go take care of yourself. But if you're able to identify that it's an issue, it's probably a good sign, because it means you're able to actually rearrange some things in your brain.